everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us in the pursuit of excellence. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to succeed in life and be successful in business as well. We do this by talking to some of the most successful people in business, experts in their field, to see how they built their business, and so we can stop just chasing paychecks and start building a business that we can be proud of. We have a great guest for you today, and we have a great guest and a great show for you today, Mr. Jose Berlanga. Jose, thanks so much for being with us.
Hey, Josh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, Jose, what is it you do?
What don't I do? That is
there we go.
A better question. I'm like yourself, entrepreneur, investor, builder, developer. I participate in a number of other industries, but real estate is my number one activity. Been doing this for decades now, and now I'm writing. I'm writing. I'm just enjoying the process of putting all these experiences on paper and hopefully making something out of it.
Fantastic. So, what got you started? When did you get bitten by the bug? Describe the indications that you caught the disease. Like what got you in this line?
In this line of work, it was by accident. Most of the experience
Yep.
I've had in business in general it have been very, very interesting because I keep saying that to me entrepreneurship is a blessing and a curse because I love putting deals together, building companies, starting companies, but I'm not one of those people that is just in love with one specific product, one specific industry, and that can be distracting for somebody like me. So even when I was younger, I would jump into more opportunities than what I was actually capable of executing and doing properly. So I over the years I learned to try to specialize and to start focusing on one thing at a time. And eventually one day I got into real estate as an investor and also as a builder. My younger brother's an architect, and we started a company where I became the business side of things. He was the technical, the design, construction side of the business, and we started very humble background, a tiny, very small investment, one home that then 2 and 4 and 8 and turned into a few hundred homes at a time, and hundreds of millions of dollars later, perhaps billions now in transactions. I was never able to get out of it. It was never my intention. The one thing I'll wrap up.
Never my intention. Famous last words. Yeah.
Never my intention to stick around because I'm one of those people that wants to experience other things, other businesses and industries. I never intended to stay in this business and run it myself. I wanted to build it, put it together, pass it on to a group of people to help me operate it. But somehow it was never a good time to walk away from real estate.
Oh yeah, it pulls you in and doesn't let you out.
Yeah. You're either making too much money and having fun, or times are horrible and you're too busy fixing problems and trying to reduce your debt, and so it's not an easy thing to get out of.
It is not. So let me ask you this: what do you like best about it?
Well, there's so many. That's a deep question.
It can be.
Yeah. Because there are so many aspects. I don't like the and I think I'm gonna probably resonate with a lot of people in the industry. I don't like the administrative side. Sitting down, doing the research, doing the paperwork. I deal a lot with banks. At some point, I was dealing with 30 plus lenders simultaneously, and I have to spend a lot of time behind the desk on the computer. That's not my favorite. I love the negotiating, looking for opportunities, putting those deals together, identifying what a property can be, the best
Mm.
utilization of a certain piece of land, identifying the different locations, the next potential market. It's something that I enjoy.
Mm.
The question of all questions, where's the big thing, the next new neighborhood that's gonna be a great
What's the next slide? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I like the discovery part more the administrative side. Ironically, I spend much more time doing the administrative aspects of this business. The business side of things is where I spend the bulk of my time. But that's just the way life goes.
Yeah. So where would you say that all the success came from for you? What was the what kicked it off? What where would you say you track it to?
Hunger, desperation. I have a reverse process, and most people fear starting a business, going on their own. They fear uncertainty. I fear depending on someone else. My whole life, I feared having to depend on someone giving me opportunities, giving me a raise, allowing me to move up in the corporate ladder. I never wanted that. That was scary to me, more scary than starting from scratch and going out there and building my own destiny, my own future. And that was my fuel. I wanted to do something with my life, and I knew that I had better chances if I took control than if I just looked for those opportunities via some other company or some other person.
I get that. So what are the essential skills of an entrepreneur, especially when you start to get going? Is recognizing talent, being able to look at people and see who's got potential, and seeing something in people and getting that sense. I'd like to ask you, Jose, to turn that lens back on yourself. What would you say in assessing yourself makes you good at what you do? What came in the hardwire package, the way you came from the factory, that made you good at what you do?
Desire, ambition, and the willingness to put up with whatever I had to put up with
For
in
crap
order
goes on.
to move forward. That is one of I keep saying this. I'm not very smart. I'm not very talented. I'm not very creative. I don't know anything that anybody else doesn't. I'm just willing to put more time, more effort, more hours. I'm willing to work even after I'm tired. When I'm done, when I can't go any further, that's when I get started. That's why I push
Yeah,
myself beyond my limits. I think that is what has helped me achieve some things in my life. I don't take no for an answer. I keep going. I don't believe in excuses. I don't believe in I can't do this, or I won't do this, or it's too difficult, or it takes too much time. So those are perhaps some of the ingredients of making something, turning something in moving forward and succeeding eventually. And it takes time. That's another one. Patience, knowing upfront that it's not going to happen overnight. Having realistic expectations about what things require, not being living in fantasy land.
sure. And the tough part, I think, for most people, most entrepreneurs, is you don't know how to when you start, you don't know how to differentiate fantasy land from reality because you don't have context. Like you don't know how long it takes to go from the inputs of effort to the outputs of return for that effort. And like especially in real estate, there's oftentimes is either a huge lag or a big disconnect where like you could be doing everything right and things still don't work out, right? Because
Yeah.
every deal doesn't work out. And there's it's hard to tell somebody, explain to someone without making them like, why the hell am I even doing this in the first place? That disconnect. You want them to feel good. You want them to have good energy coming in, right? And be ready to go out there and conquer the world. But you're like, well, you're gonna get your ass kicked for a while. And it's gonna suck a lot. Like nobody really has that conversation up front. that we kind of learn along the way is what happens. And I think we, being it as an entrepreneur, you tell me what your take on this is.
Well,
You start to adjust your expectations, if you will.
yeah. Most of us underestimate um, how much work it requires to make money, and we overestimate our ability to start making a living in any career, particularly when you're not receiving a paycheck, which has been my life. I don't know what it
Yeah,
feels to be paid to get paid just to show up. I don't know how that feels.
to get paid from somebody else. Yeah, I pay myself,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I have to pull it off. I have to close a deal. I have to figure out how to make something happen in order to make money. And most people get discouraged the moment they realize that it's not as simple as they assume, as they hope for. There's a curve of not only effort, enthusiasm, efficiency. Many of us start you nailed it. We start all excited and pumped up, and we go out there and want to eat the world in 5 minutes. But
yep.
as we start confronting resistance, as we start understanding that things are going to take longer, more work, it's going to be a while before we actually make a living, that enthusiasm starts slowing down little by little, uh, until eventually, if you can get through that period, once you get closer to the finish line, it seems like that re-energizes us a lot. But in this industry, there are so many long periods of time, but they're cyclical, and it's very emotional. You have to, if you can handle making a lot of money, you need to be also able to handle losing money or working for free. And this is something that not everybody is ready to confront. Going out there and spending hours and hours and days and weeks and months working without a paycheck.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so if you're not ready, if you don't have that awareness going into this type of activity, there are good chances of you ending up walking away from it.
Getting your ass kicked in technical terms.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's
so
saturated. There's a lot you have to differentiate yourself somehow.
yeah, you got to find some way. Absolutely. So that brings me to a topic that I always like to ask about. How do you manage yourself as a CEO? One of the toughest employees to take and deal with a lot of times is myself, because I work for me, right? I have to take and lay out the strategic plan. I have to be the boss of the company, but I also have to get me to go out and do what I want. And like in a lot of ways, I'm a great employee, but there's also things that maybe I struggle to get myself to do or whatever, right? Any CEO has that stuff. Like for you, it's maybe the paperwork and the administrative stuff's like crap, like you want to put it off, right? But my question is this: how do you manage yourself when there's unmet expectations, when there's disappointments, when it doesn't go well? How do you like, what do you tell yourself? What's the mental game you play with yourself to keep you in the fight moving forward?
Setbacks and the resistance from the market is difficult for everyone. It always hurts. I'm asked this question: how do I ignore those setbacks and the difficulties, the adversity in the business? Um, I'm gonna admit that it's still annoying today when things don't work your way, and I have rarely a day when everything works the way I planned. So just like an athlete improves their recovery period, in business, an entrepreneur, a leadership skill is to be able to move forward and recover faster after all these failures. You just figure out how to get back on your feet and how to keep moving and ignore it, and you get used to it. Repetition and awareness, just knowing in advance that things are rarely going to happen the way that you expect them. Being a leader, being the owner, everybody thinks that it's just fun, that it's easy. Everybody wants to be the boss until it's time to act like the boss, until it's time to take the
Yep.
punches, the uncertainty, the last person to get paid. The one who loses money has to bring your money back because a deal didn't work out, and the money you made a few months or a few years ago has to come back and be reinvested in savings, some your company or future transactions. And so, and you're the person that never sleeps, that is always working, even when people think you just went to the bar and you went to relax. No, you're at the bar working and doing deals and talking about business and looking for leads, and you never stop. This is an activity where you have to have the ability to produce your own adrenaline, to produce your own motivation, because nobody's forcing you. When you don't have a
No.
boss, when you don't have rules, when you don't have schedules, nobody, there's no one setting the parameters of how to succeed. You're creating them, you're determining them, you're creating your own deadlines, your own schedules, you're pushing yourself, and you have to generate your own ability to consistently push. And
Yep.
it's easier said than done. When you become your own alarm clock. That's
You have
just
to set the momentum. Absolutely. No, there's no two ways around it. It is coming from inside of you.
yeah.
You have to be the genesis point of that.
And you
So
can't train or convince someone to become ambitious. This is something that you have to train yourself, want it, need it. If you're just not that type of personality, there's not much you can do to convince someone to want to be successful.
and I mean, and that's okay. It's just, like if you don't have that particular skill set, it's going to be problematic to do that job. Like if you have an overdeveloped sense of smell, you probably don't want to be, I don't know, a septic tank cleaner guy. Like you need to go where your skill set is. If you're clumsy, you don't want to become a ballet dancer. There's certain skills that you're going to want to have, and the
Yeah,
ability to kind of generate this inner fire. Like I don't need somebody. I don't need a jockey to whip the horse. The horse is just going to run, or at
correct.
least I can make the horse run.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And
that's
match your effort with your expectations. So I'm sure you'll agree with me. How many people I see and hear expecting to do well, expecting to to make money, but their actions don't match. They don't put the time, they don't put the effort. They talk a lot about it. They express what they want or should be or how much they should make, but they don't match their sacrifice and their actions and their efforts with their expectations, and those have to work together.
and I know you wrote a book about entrepreneurship, and I want to ask you a little bit about that. I know you said it was a bit of a labor of love, that you really enjoyed writing it. You put a lot into it. What's the title of the book?
The Quantum Entrepreneur. It is not out yet. I'm in the finishing touches. That's it's my third book, and I'm very excited about this book because I'm pouring my heart out into describing not just the success, but the reality of entrepreneurship. I'm not one of those people that hit it out of the ballpark on my first attempt, hit a home run, and became a multi-millionaire, gajillionaire. I went through a lot of effort, sacrifice, attempts. I've become a millionaire multiple times, which means I've been broke multiple times. I've lost it all and had to start from scratch in different industries. The pain, the suffering, the mentality, the lifestyle that an entrepreneurship must live by in some of the philosophies that this industry represents, because it's misunderstood. Most people associate owning your own business, being an entrepreneur, with freedom, with fun, with excitement, with money, with luxury. And yes, that comes eventually. But to get there, it's a very humbling experience. It's a very, very difficult path that
Yep.
not many people are able to tolerate or willing to put up with. So I talk about the sequence of events that I had to live through, and I think that many people had to go through in order to reach their goals.
Hmm. Um, so let me ask you this. Looking at the market today, what do you see in the market out there in the world that gets you excited? Where do you see the opportunity today?
I often see opportunities when the markets are uncertain. It allows you to be two steps ahead of the competition. When things, I'm more concerned when the market is booming. That's when I get a little bit skeptical about investing and buying. When everybody's buying, that's when you need to slow down and
Yep.
distant
It's just
yourself.
a matter of time until the music stops. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And when it stops, you don't know how bad and for how long. Nobody knows the exact cycles, the timing of these cycles. But this uncertainty, I believe that I've made more money at the end of the day in bad moments in time, because that is when opportunities are out there. That is when you can buy better deals, when you can look for opportunities that people are overlooking, that they're not paying attention to.
Absolutely,
This
because people aren't looking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is certainly an uncertain one, because I've seen good markets, bad markets, in nat more natural cycles that are more obvious. This is a little bit weird and different,
Yeah.
because there are some good components, there are some bad ones. There's a salad
Yep.
here of good and bad, and you just have to decipher what's coming up a little bit better. You and I were talking about all the effects of interest rates and the economy and government, and policies. And so right now it requires a little more intelligence and a little more
Sure.
ability to put all those ingredients together and figure
Of
out what's
course.
coming. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's gonna turn. It's been tough enough for long enough.
I think what's interesting is it's for me with real estate, it's always easy to know what's going to happen because I have the history of real estate to go to. I can look at the economic inputs that are coming in and see how my product behaves when that collage of inputs exists.
Yeah,
Because typically the economic inputs that are changing aren't changing that much. But right now, we've thrown a whole lot of economic inputs simultaneously, and we've never seen quite this volume in this condensed a period of time. So economically, we had negative GDP growth in Q1. Now they just revised Q2 way up. The estimates for Q3, they're taking up slightly, but it's not like a banner Q3 they're predicting, as we're kind of riding this roller coaster of people stocking up because they're concerned with tariffs and stepping back. And like,
yeah,
what does this all work itself out to look like? You got parts of the U.S. that are booming. My state is 50 of 50. It's the worst market right now. We were by far the best market a year and a half ago, now or 2 years ago. Now we're like number 50 in the United States of America, going the other way. Part of that's our condo market pulling it. Like, there's all kinds of stuff going on, insurance and all the things that went on with that. I mean, just all these inputs, right? The condo law change,
yeah.
figuring out what that looks like and how all that's affecting the rental market, which is now inundated with supply because of all this stuff, the unintended consequences of all of this stuff.
And I
It
believe
really,
that, yeah, in every cycle there are different variables that make that market what it is, including trends. For example,
sure.
right now we have a few issues. I do believe that the biggest problem is affordability, combined with higher interest rates. When you mix those two, uh,
Yeah.
inflation, cost, affordability. But it's a reverse bubble where more qualified buyers than I've ever seen in the history of this
Yep.
business are out there not being to afford a house. That's interesting. You have a lot of potential buyers, a lot of people that can convert eventually from renting to buying, a big volume. But there's also another trend of a new generation who does not want to be um, attached to a mortgage. They don't want to be stuck in a certain location. Now you see this new trend of the BTR industry, which we're doing a lot of, we've converted some of our communities that were originally built for sale. We decided, because of a number of circumstances, to just convert them into rental developments. So how is all of this going to play out? It's going to be interesting. But one thing I do know is that some of these cities keep growing. The volume of transactions is certainly going to have to increase very soon, in my opinion.
Yes. I don't think there's a way around that. It's,
Yeah,
I mean, as reticent as the Federal Reserve seems to be, to want to be when it comes to rates, and even after this major jobs adjustment, them slow rolling rate cuts, that is the easiest path to affordability that we have, without getting into the messiness of how much of the cost of construction is tied up in these municipalities. And I mean, just the sheer intransigence and difficulty of getting any projects through municipalities post COVID. I don't know what the hell happened to these people, but I mean, between them and then the requirements on engineering now, I mean,
yeah,
my engineers in Florida, like, because they have all these buildings now that have to have these engineering inspections, they didn't make any new extra engineers. So, like, what used to take a couple of weeks to get from my engineer, I'm looking at a couple of months to get out of them. There's these huge backlogs, and then the city, after they take their sweet time getting back with comments come back. Now we got to get the engineer to make the adjustments, send it back, and all of this is taken the whole time. The debt service is taken. That service is taken away, right? So all of that is driving up affordability and making the houses to build less affordable. You got land costs, you got supply chain, you got labor costs, you got all of these things stacked up. Our construction loans are based on prime, typically. We're not based on the Treasury bill. So we just got our first rate cut of the year a couple of days ago.
yeah. Finally.
Yeah, finally, we got some freaking relief. So, like, they're always, we care about the little guy, but there's always stuff that they, lead that makes it, for me as a builder, we have, as builders, been behind the curve since 2012. We've been building more than 400,000 fewer homes than U.S. demand. We're more than 4 million homes behind what the U.S. demand is for homes. And there's nothing in the outlook of the future that's got us building any faster, because after the housing crisis, the builders basically decided they're staying behind the demand curve, and they have stuck to it. Yeah. I mean, we are 4+ million homes behind.
There are more buyers sitting on the sidelines just waiting for interest rates to go down. They don't want to buy what they can afford currently, because they understand. Although I think most buyers, we have this conversation with an unlimited amount of buyers where they understand that they can buy, that they can get better deals from builders, because we're discounting, we're trying to buy interest rates down, but they're still under the perception that they can do better if they wait a little bit longer. That is just what the general consensus is, that it's just not the right time to buy. In my opinion, this is the time. You can always refinance and just beat up on the builder. This, we've never had so many land positions that are just sitting waiting. We decided not to build. We have entire developments ready to break ground, but we said no, the cost structure does not justify us breaking ground to have to end up just giving away our product. So let's just wait.
I actually have lists in some classes of all the pressures that there are on builders. And, like, you and I are both like problem solvers. So, like, all right, well, this just goes on the list of stuff that we have to deal with, like, all right, labor costs are doing this, the supply chain. I mean, I still don't have the same security in my supply chain and timelines that I had pre-COVID to this day. I mean, my cabinets, they don't come in as fast. They don't stock as, and when I can't get those cabinets when I need them, I can't finish that house, which means when I don't finish that house, I need it to take and finish that one in order to take and get the cash flow to finish the other 6 that are in various stages of production, which slows down the entire, the whole chain of the operation, right? That cash flow cycle is much more stretched out for builders.
Yeah.
All of it makes it more expensive. And so, unless there's a fundamental addressing of the things that makes it more expensive to build houses, we as much as we would love to, can't come in and meaningfully supplement the market at a price point that that would support these buyers that are qualified, that want to buy but can't afford. We can't make the homes less expensive because everything that they're doing, the energy efficiency guide that I get every year for how I have to, every single time, it doesn't make the house cheaper. It's like clockwork, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Uh,
We're gonna need wages to go up a little bit faster because the cost of living has moved up considerably faster than wages.
always what happens with inflation. Always what happens with inflation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we've gotten creative. Incidentally, you said something interesting there that it's there's no way for us to build and meet the demands of consumers at the price that they can afford. We're trying to get creative. For example, which by the way, there's also a curve I've noticed over the decades. The impact of an economic cycle is different for land, prices on land, for materials, for labor, and for the product itself. The first product to slow down is the finished product, the home. When a recession or when a slowdown occurs, home prices slow down, buyers traffic begin to slow down, but the contractors normally are still too busy. They haven't noticed the slowdown, so they don't want to give you a discount. They don't want to lower their prices. The same goes for materials. Right now, things have been slow for long enough where that process is reversing. Now the contractors are coming to us begging for work, when at first we try to warn them, hey guys, we're going to need better pricing because we're noticing that sales are slowing down, the market is getting pretty bad. No, we're too busy, we can charge this and we're going to get this per foot. The same for materials. But now it's been bad long enough, I'm telling you, where people are coming to us offering us deals just to keep their staff busy. And as builders, we're getting to the point where I think we can get that price down to a level where it becomes feasible for us to start building. And then there's that swing that as the buying experience begins to expedite and the interest rate starts coming down, that's when builders make a killing, when the market turns, because now you get the best of both worlds. You build at a lower price, and all of a sudden the pricing structure increases overnight. I've made more money on all the different price points after a slowdown, after a crisis, because all of a
Absolutely.
sudden there is no inventory and you can name your price. So it
Absolutely.
doesn't last too long, but
No,
that's
narrow window.
that's a
You got to
beautiful
be ready for
window
it.
when builders and developers, if you're still around, that's where you catch up and recover. Yeah,
Catch up and clean up. Yeah, yeah. All right. So, Jose, we got to do a bit of a lightning round here. I got some.
sure.
Just want to get your first kind of take on this. I definitely want to have that market conversation with you because I know you're in it up to your eyeballs like I am, and so it's always fun to talk shop with folks that are doing it. But what would you say you're most proud of that you've done in business?
Um, I'm well. If I had to pick one, my recoveries are my proudest. I'm not proud of success. That happens because of a number of factors. When the stars align, yeah, I don't pat myself on the back for being successful. I am proud of myself for having recovered when
Sure,
the odds were against me,
the
uh,
comeback.
for not having thrown the towel when all I wanted was to run away and hide. You know, when things
Absolutely, I get it. I
yeah,
get it.
so that's having stuck to every business, not just this one. When things had got very difficult, when I lost it all, and I figured out how to find energy out of somewhere and start again. Those are my proudest moments, and continue the journey of entrepreneurship. I
Yep.
didn't give up and say, this is not for me. I refuse to give up, and so that's where I feel that I succeeded by not giving up when the obvious thing was to just walk away from this whole thing.
Okay. What is if you had to narrow it to one, what is the one book you would tell somebody you got to read this book?
Wow. I'm not going to say mine if you're in the industry, but I love it. The Business of Home Building. No, all the leadership books. There's I was I read bits and pieces. I was reading the 1 minute leader, or I think that's the name of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I know.
Uh,
Yeah.
I read. I have to admit that me being an extremely busy, overwhelmed person in a hurry, I start books and I never finish them. I move on. So what
This is
I'm gonna
these audio books.
yeah, I'm gonna give you a different answer instead of just picking a book. I'm gonna give an answer to a different sector of your audience, which is the busy crowd, the overwhelmed crowd, the ADD crowd like myself. What I do is I read a lot of headlines. I try to stay up to date on information, trends. I'm better at reading short um, short stories, articles, magazines of interest, things that are related to what I do because I want to know the trends. I want to know what's going on out there in my industry, in the economy.
Gotta do it.
So if you can stick to an entire book, unless I'm on vacation, which is, and even then, I'm always working. I bring my computer and all the electronics. I like to just take a few minutes here and there to stay up to speed on what's going on out
Understood. No, it makes perfect sense. Favorite movie of all time?
there. I love Bugsy Siegel.
Okay,
But
I know the movie.
I love so many movies, but I love Warren Beatty, and that was the creation of Las Vegas.
Yeah. Okay.
Not
Famous person in famous person in history you'd want to meet if you could.
wow. I mean, there are endless. I would have obviously Thomas Edison or one of those
Okay.
creators, one of those
Sure.
inventors that I
Okay.
could pick their brain and know how they came up with all of these inventions and
Yeah.
uh,
How do you be so creative? What's the one piece of advice, Jose, you'd go back and give a younger version of you? What's the thing you give him a shot in the back of the head and say, "Hey, young Jose, you got to know this." What's the thing you tell you?
yeah. First of all, be patient. I was never patient. I wanted things now. I wanted them faster. Uh, be patient. Take your time. Understand what you like. Understand what you're good at, and don't focus on the money. I think part of my mistake over the years was looking for opportunity strictly on what I thought could generate profit wise instead of trying to generate an experience, a purpose, an objective, a mission, a vision. And when you start with those fundamentals, whether it's a transaction or a business or a relationship, when you start backwards by understanding what it is that I'm doing and how can I serve others, what is the purpose of what I'm doing, the money comes as a consequence, as a result, instead of the other way around. I used to run the numbers first and then find the reason to do whatever I was doing. So I would have reversed that a little more and found more purpose in my actions.
Understood. Makes sense. Um, so, last question I have for you is: if our listeners wanted to find you, where could they find you?
JoseBerlanga.com, my website, and that will lead to some other company websites. I must admit, I'm not very involved in social media. I'm not the busiest person in that respect. But yeah, I have a lot of videos, a lot of interviews, and in two books now that are out: The Business of Home Building and Dirt Rich, which is about land investing, land
Yep.
speculation, land development, and the meaning of land in this multi-trillion-dollar industry. I talk a lot about the meaning of this commodity, this resource behind real estate. It all starts with the proper selection of the right piece of dirt.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Jose, thank you so much for coming on. It was great chatting with you, getting to know you a little better, and discussing this field that we both love so much. I really appreciate your time, sir.
Likewise, thank you so much, Josh.
My pleasure. And I want to thank our listeners for spending their time with us, guys. You could spend your time anywhere. Thanks for being here. And I remind you, as I always do, there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time.